Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Here to do the albums of the half-decade, mid-decade favorites. Not really the most definitive list. It's Pub Meeple. I should do a video on Pub Meeple at some point, but anyway. I'm gonna kind of go through this pretty quickly like I did the albums of the year just for sake of time because it's actually ballooned into a long list. So, number 46 in effect, because I didn't really come up with quite 50. Crooked Fiddle Band from 2024. The Free Wild Wind and the Songs of Birds. Great acoustic album, very progressive, chamber elements from bands from Australia. Number 45, Persefone, Lingua, Ignota Part 1, EP mini album from 2024. Great record. Another 2024 album, number 44, Circe Link and Christian Nesmith, Arcana. Great retro progressive rock album. Talked about it and did a review, of course. Number 43, Mastodon's Hushed and Grim. Long record, very long. I don't know, it's almost like 90 minutes, but its best moments really do work, and it's maybe my favorite Mastodon album since at least the album with the last Baron on it, Sky, blanking on it, from 2009. Anyway, it's epic. It sounds kind of like Birth at points, of course, but number 43, Mastodon's Hushed and Green. Number 42, the Chamber, big chamber rock band from Portland, I believe it is. Typhoon's sort of chamber roots returned. The Underground Complex Volume 1. I don't know if we're going to get Underground Complex Volume 2, but this was from 2020. I would say it was 2023. Was it 22 or 23? What have the date on here? On the CD. It was 22, actually. But yeah, after not liking the previous full length that much, I really liked, and the previous one wasn't even before that wasn't that great offerings, but this was a return to form, more like the White Lighter stuff and a New House. But anyway, Complex Underground Complex Volume 1. It's just an EP because I'm including EPs, of course. Number 42. Number 41, I have the Harmony Codex from Steven Wilson, which I don't like dramatically more than Future Bites, but I'm only choosing one release per artist in this. I didn't even mention that. So, but yeah, especially the last track, Staircase, is the biggest highlight. But Inclination, Economies of Scale has some dreamy moments. I like this record. I mean, it's not my favorite, of course, among his, but it's very impressive sonically, which isn't unusual for him. It's almost expected. But 41 from 2023, Steven Wilson's The Harmony Codex, which the overview's coming out. The first trailer, maybe the first song's already up. Number 41. Number 40, Evan Konrad's Denial. Evan Konrad, formerly known as Bed of Stars, or former project. Kind of less is more, textured, indie, art rock. Kind of didn't expect to like it this much. He has a voice kind of like Jimmy Necco. Anyway, he's from Canada, I believe, but it's on the last Never Ending White Lights album, of course. So Evan Konrad's Denial, number 40. Number 39, see Marillion, which most people would probably have this higher in the decade. And Our Report's Dark. Fanboy, my favorite Sierra Leone on this record. I like it. I haven't grown to love it. Kind of like it about as much as Sounds That Can't Be Made, maybe a little bit more, but anyway. It still has to go on the list, probably because it's Marillion and it's, better than most records anyways, because they're my favorite band. Number 39, another one of my favorite bands, which is sort of come to being released with songs on other releases, but I'm still going with this. The Ours self-titled album, which is 17 tracks. The biggest highlights for me are Get That Feeling and what is it? Across the Clouds. But there's some other big, great tracks on your Spectacular Sight, From Where You Are, Shine, Gold. It's long, but again, this whole period of Ours releases, there's like multiple releases with the same songs. But it's if you're trying to get one sense about Ours from this period, the last 6, 7, 8 years, this is one good place to start. Even though it is 17 songs. The self-titled Ours album at number 38. Number 37, Meet Mallet from A Formal Horse. Number, what is it, 30, keeping track here, 37. Great record. I mean, I haven't returned it that much. It might be a little higher, but, heavy, art rock, kind of schizophrenic at times, but yeah, I mean, I don't like it as much as their debut album, which is a mouthful, but Meat Mallet still has some good tracks like I'm Lasagna and British band, doing kind of, yeah, again, like heavy art rock in some ways. Very kind of textured. They're almost heavy post rock or post metal. And they're not metal really, but anyway. Number 37. Number 36, Codeseven's Go Let It In, the reunion album for them that really was a breath of fresh air. Kind of dredge-like at points, but really got into that when it came out. I did a review and could have gone even a little higher. But let's see here. I had this in the wrong order. But that's number 36. Number 35, East of the Wall is a neutral second. Record from 2023. Another kind of return to form to an extent. Kind of heavy post-rock, post-metal. Production's pretty good on this. There's some vocals that sound kind of like Saigon Kick and Coheed and Cambria, but it's still really good. A neutral second from some weird track titles on this, of course. Detonator, Gauntlet, Momentum Mori, Autosomal Recessive, Unfamiliar, Glass Ceiling, Hegemony's Dilemma. But anyway, East of the Walls, number 35, a neutral second. Number 34, Archives, Call to Arms and Angels. While this album is probably over an hour, it really works from an atmospheric. I mean, it's some of the best stuff Archive's done, but they've released, like, they're not as bad as, like, you know, King Gizzard or even more Psycho, but they've released, like, maybe a dozen albums. So it's not in my top 3 Archive albums, but it's probably in the top 7 or 8. I've always meant to do an actual video on them, but someday I will. But anyway, 34, Archives, Call to Arms, the British band, very kind of influenced by trip hop and post rock and art rock, of course. Number 34, number 33, the Guess Who's, Plein, now known as Derek Sharp and the Champagne Jam. Very Jellyfish-like, very power pop, very well arranged, very kind of layered. Doesn't sound like the early Guess Who. Now they're not known as the Guess Who, but yes, kind of came out of nowhere in 2023. Plein d'Amour from the Guess Who, or from Derek Sharp and the Champagne Jam. Now, number 32, Peter Gabriel's I/O. Regardless if it's the light mix or dark mix. Great record to finally have out. It's Peter Gabriel. It sounds kind of like a mix of Up and like the 80s, like So, or, you know, some of the Us stuff. But I mean, there's poppy stuff, there's textured stuff, they're very kind of somber, kind of ballads, very kind of industrial points, and, you know, it's just the production. Gabriel's voice sounds great on it, among the best things about it. Number 32. Number 31, DK the Drummer, aka Darren King, formerly of Mute Math. Lockers Volume 1. Love the combination of jazz, art rock, funk at points, pop, and then of course the hip hop and vocals. Hip hop / vocals, because some of them are like sort of like R&B vocals, some of them are pop vocals, some of them, a lot of them are like rap or hip hop. And it works for the most part. I really like this album. I did a review, and the past year it came out in 2024. Number 31. Number 30, Midlake with For Bethel Woods. For the Sake of Bethel Woods, was it? Yeah, For the Sake of Bethel Woods. Another breath of fresh air. Kind of felt a little bit like a comeback album. Love the piano. Love the 70s sounding production on this. But I think the production's better than some of their other recent records. Because they never really, I don't think they ever fully broke up. The lineups did change, though. The lead singer at one point left. They got, you know, one of the other guys became the lead singer. But not blanking on the name right now, but anyway, yeah, this Midlake album kind of came out of nowhere, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe my favorite Midlake album. That's number 29, Cloud Cult's Metamorphosis. I love this record, a lot of it, the energy, kind of a lot of the builds on it. I mean, it's not as good as The Seeker, I don't think, but, you know, it's Seeker I loved, but it's close. And it's the first record they released in, like, whatever, it came out in I think it was 22. It was like 6 years. So, yeah, Metamorphosis from Cloud Cult. I like the one they just put out this past year, too, with, I think of the Field. We Are a Force Field, but I don't have a physical copy. I didn't pull it up, but Cloud Cult's Metamorphosis finished in my top 10 in 2022 for a reason. Out of a Hole. Everyone get Out of a Hole. That's the one big banger on it, but... Anyway, number 29. Number 28, Umphrey's McGee's Asking for a Friend. Another case of a band that's released a lot of albums. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. This one actually surprised me how good it was. It's more song-oriented than some of the other records, but very melodic, very catchy at points, and lyrically very memorable. Not as translating it so much the jam band cliche that some of the records bring in, and it's not so much of a hybrid of styles. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But anyway, number 28. Number 27, Life is Yours from Foals. Another record that initially, since one of the members left, their keyboard player left, the first single sounded really poppy, but it really grew on me, and I've become to really like it. I don't like it as much as a lot of the other records, but I probably would listen to it more than the previous two, that the 2019, that that double the albums they released. In some ways, it's almost a push, but I've really enjoyed that. But I like all their records, so I'm kind of a Foles fanboy. But anyway, 27, Life is Yours. 26, from 20. That was from 20. I think 20. Was it 23 or 22? I think it was 22. Sometimes the years get blurry. So, yeah, 22. Pure Reason Revolution's Coming Up to Conscious number. And I like all three of the Pure Reason Revolution albums, but this one I like the best because it kind of less is more, and the heavy, punchy riffs are not overused. Even though Chloe Alper's not on it, I think the girl they got to kind of fill the void does really work with some of the stuff she does on here. And a lot of really great tracks like Useless Animal, Dig Till You Die, Betrayal, Lifeless Creature. So anyway, Pure Reason Revolution, it's kind of jazzy, kind of stripped on points, but very psychedelic at points. Coming Up to Conscious, number 26. Number 25, Coheed and Cambria's Vaxxus 2, A Window of the Waking Mind. Super catchy, poppy. The production doesn't bug me too much, and I feel like it was one of their best cases of the return of like the sort of banger after banger tracks that, it's like some of it kind of came across as mall pup at first, but it grew on me. So really enjoyed both the Vaxxus, but this one even more maybe than the previous one. Number 25. Number 24, I had that up, and I don't. My order changed as per the problem when I did this. The Warnings, Air. Well, I like, Keep Me Fed from 2024. This is from 2022. Songs like Choke, Disciple, Animosity, Money's very catchy, Evolve, title track, Revenant. This is their best for the sound. I think the production's even better than on the new record in some ways. But this might go down as my favorite The Warning record. I like their other records, like the True records that came up before this. But anyway, that's number 20. What am I at here? Number 24. Number 23, Biffy Clyro's The Myth of the Happy Ever After. Another album that I found like was a return to form. Very big sounding at times. I haven't listened to it since it came out in 2022, but definitely Biffy Clyro, The Myth of the Happy Ever After. One of the best records this decade so far. Number 23. Number 22, I have the numbers wrong. Number 22, Ugly, Twice Around the Sun. The mini album EP from the new band from the UK. I talked about it in the albums of the year. Did a review of it. Love the vocal arrangements, the a cappella elements in that first track. Love the instrumentation, some of the busyness, some of the layering, some of the poppiness, and the folk elements. Very kind of uplifting psychedelic moments. Great EP, great, like, it's not a debut EP or full mini album, but sort of a breakthrough in sense. Number 22. Number 21, Willows and Pathogen. Jazz pop, very technical at times, kind of progressive R&B, kind of like Esperanza Spalding. Great record, big feeling, and Symptom of Life are probably the biggest two bangers, but every track I feel works, even the track with St. Vincent, that acoustic ballad. Number 21. Number 20, SJS. Talked about this a few times on the prog stream a few weeks ago with the Prog Corner. A Sequence of Mistakes. Love this album. I talked about this in the album of the year. Very kind of moody space rock, post rock, similar to like Giant Sky and some other stuff. A little bit of like Anathema, a little bit of Mew, a little bit of very Pink Floyd influenced. Love this A Sequence of Mistakes. I like all their records, but this is the one I like the most. And that's number 20. Number 19, Warpaint, Radiate Like This. Another sort of, it was a big gap in time before the previous record. I like the previous record, Heads Up, I think it was called, but Radiate Like This kind of very much hit the nail on the head from a standpoint of mood. I mean, it has kind of a similar vibe throughout the whole album, but it works. Was it Steve? Stevie is one of the songs they released as an early, but Champion, Warpaint aren't going to release, that first EP that had more energetic tracks every time. They're kind of more methodical, but in the right context, their albums really work. And I just felt like Oh yeah, this is just refreshing to hear from them again. Radiate Like This from Warpaint from 2022. 22? Yeah, it was 22, I believe. Um, number 19. Number 18, Pepe Deluxe's Comic Sonic. I said a lot about this album too. You know, it's a little bit better than the previous record, which I really like too, from 2021, Phantom Cannon Volume 1. But yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of styles with a lot of hidden textures, and you know, of course, they're using vintage instruments. The guys from yeah, I mean, songs like "Saddle That Wind" and the one with the track list isn't even on here. I should have opened it. I showed it. Yeah, of course, I forgot about the slight damage there. Saddle That Freedom Flag's the weirdest song, but everybody is. Let's see here. Earth Boys Are Easy is one of the other bangers on here, but yes, you know, I love Pepe Deluxe. And again, you know, I mean, we'll see in 5 years when I do my albums of the decade, full decade, if this, a lot of this stuff ends up being this high and everything. But no, Pepe Deluxe's Comic Sonics. I enjoyed Phantom Cannon. I guess we'll see, because Phantom Cannon I really enjoyed in 2021, and then I kind of didn't listen to it that much. I listened to this more, but we're 6 months out for this thing. Trying not to damage these records in the process here. There we go. So number was it number 18? Happens when I always get interrupted in these videos. Number 18, Pepe Deluxe. Number 17, Major Parkinson's Velisa, Chapter 1, Velvet Prison. While this is kind of long, it's like an hour long. I feel like it's production-wise, it's even better, and they are channeling 80s pop in some ways. Was it Live Forever? That one especially. I don't know. The fan base kind of were mixed about this. I actually really like this. I like the Black Box, the record before, but it's darker. This one's more happy and uplifting. Goodbye Blue Monday. I haven't listened to this in a few years. This came out in 2022, but you know, I'm just hoping that they put out a new record. They're probably going to put out another record soon. They're going to be calling it Velesa Part 2. It's going to have a different name to it, but in fact, I'm going to go over 2025 Anticipation. That's probably going to be in there. So that's number 8. Number 17. Number 16. I just got this. I haven't done a collection video. Mike Vennard's In the Dead Wood, which I got the CD because the vinyl's all sold out, of course. But came out in 2020, and I didn't listen to it that much then. But you know, I the year after when I started listening to more music, I got more into it. The title track, Concierge. There's one epic on here. This is the most ocean-sized album he's probably released. I like this more at this point than Concept with Lancelot and stuff like that. Than the record he just put out, unfortunately. Forgiveness in the Grain? Yeah, but yeah, In the Dead Wood from Vennard. Number 16, you know, and we'll probably see, I don't know, I want to do like a Vennard marathon. I've done videos on him in the past, of course, but and by the way, Frames is on Spotify now, finally again, with some of the demos and stuff, and the bonus track Voorhees. Number 15, we're in the top 15 now. Mask of the Phantasm, the new Axial Age, which features former members of the Mars Volta, including Thomas Pridgen, and it is very much of like the Mars Volta with like the singer from Courtney from Bent Knee on vocals with featured saxophone parts, especially breakdowns and everything. So kind of a weird cover, I'll admit, though. You know, you got the Greek thing, but yeah, this ended up being, you know, a breath of fresh air when I heard it. I've heard it a few months after it came out in 2021. So, Mask of the Phantasm, number 15, number 14 from 2023, the reunion return album to Hotel the Laughing Tree. We also have a new album coming out probably in 2025. Faraway Friends, another breath of fresh air. That's why this decade's been a breath of fresh air of reunion albums a lot for me. Was it Mirrors Up is a banger. At the Bottom of the Night, that's another one. Double Sunday Daydream, Faraway Friends. There's just a lot of just banger, catchy tracks on here. Is it prog? I mean, it's art rock, of course, you know, but they're not really classified. It's very melodic. There's a Springsteen influence on this album, which maybe wasn't present on the previous releases. Of course, their debut album I love to death. Tearing Everything After. But yeah, Faraway Friends is a very good, you know, sort of reunion return album from Hotel the Laughing Tree. That's number 14. Number 13, the debut album from another Brixton band, just like Ugly. which wasn't Ugly wasn't a debut album, but debut sort of like a breakthrough introduction release. But Bright Green Field from Squid from Brixton. I've grown to love this. I think seeing live, I've appreciated the music even more last year, about a year ago. Paddling. Paddling is my favorite. Narrator was like the sort of token hit. But yeah, he does some yelling, but the vocal style you get used to and the sort of proggy, jazzy bits don't overstay their welcome. There isn't much free jazz on here. The one after that followed up from 2023, there was a little more of that, which I'm kind of on the fence about some of the Brixton sound. You know, of course, Black Country New Road and even Black Midi, but Squid is my favorite and the one that I really am on board with now. You could add Ugly to that list. But yeah, Bright Green Field, the debut album from Squid. Number 13. Number 12, Norway's, Answer to Mew. Of course, I've talked about them. Something in the Making, a reunion album as well from this band, Team Me. While I like the record they put out last year, which actually finished higher on my albums of the year list, I think I like this album slightly more because it reminds me more of the earlier two records from a gang vocal standpoint. But Green Crystal Rain on a Star, that one's got the callbacks to the vocal harmonies, High Street, Every Little Dream reprise. I mean, this is more conceptual. I love their last two records a lot, though. They haven't put out a bad record. Every record that Team Me has done, I've liked. But anyway, Team Me, Something in the Making. Number 12. Number 11, of course, we got the runner-up for Album of the Year in 2024, Ben Sinister's Mostly Great Things, which, banger after banger in my mind. Again, is it prog? Just a little bit. It's very just classic rock influence, power pop influence, and just well-written songs, very melodic. The little bits inside, of course, like the Ben Sinister sauce makes them stand out a little more than your average sort of indie or alternative rock band or even band that's highly influenced by the 70s. But songs like Price You Pay, Hot City, Renegade, I love that track. The review basically praised every song, and you can't go wrong with any of the songs on this album to me. Anyway, Mostly Great Things from Ben Sinister, Vancouver's own. Number 11. Number 10. We're in the top 10 now, of course. We got The Deer Hunter with Antimai. While I love all the Deer Hunter albums, even Migrant, this album is a new concept. I love a lot of it. The different classes, the industry. It's like just basically world building, a new world between industry, middle class, luxury, towers, very epic. I don't know. When we get into the next record, Sunya, which hopefully will be coming out in 2025, probably go back to this and sort of like refresh my memory. I got into this, but I didn't get into it at the same level. I probably would have finished even a little higher, but still, I'm a fanboy of a lot of these bands, including the Deer Hunter, of course. So that's number 10. It did make the top 10. Number 9, another band who once toured with the Deer Hunter, the Family Crest, The War Act 2, which it has the stigma of, I heard this for the first time it came out, or the day before, the day my cat Latte passed away. But I've kind of moved past that. Seeing them live 2 times, especially this past summer, I've really learned to appreciate this album more as a full album. The biggest bangers, the band are Hearts on Fire and Pride. But, it's just, there's so many tracks I enjoy in this. What is it? You Are the Beginning, Her Song, The Garden, In Your Arms Tonight. Their sound isn't that varied from the previous two, the War Acts and a lot of their other records, Family Crest, but they're just so good at writing songs and compositions. I don't know what they're going to do next. We're getting another album from the War series, or we'll get something completely different. But anyway, love the Family Crest. Their album, the War Act 2, finished number 9. It was many years in the making. Number 8, my album of the year in 2022, of course, Gospel's the Loser. Another reunion album. The previous album had come out in 2005, but it does have the banger Tango. I absolutely love that song. This is prog-core, screamo plus psychedelic prog rock, very math rock at Pleins. There's a Mars Volta element to a lot of these songs. I love this album. It's like less is more, but I do tolerate the vocal style. If you can't tolerate kind of hardcore screaming, screamo, it may not work for you, even though they have these great textures and keyboard parts. The band are even fans of the Limelight down on Broadway. So anyway, Gospel's the Loser. Number 8 on my mid-decade albums list. Number 7, see Pat Metheny, not Pat Metheny Group, with it came out in 2020, From This Place. My favorite Pat Metheny release of any kind, probably at least since The Way Up, maybe before that. Very soundtrack and cinematic like. I don't think there's much vocals on this, but America Undefined was one of the early tracks he shared. But From This Place, it works to kind of less is more. We got some synclavier synths. We have a lot of kind of chamber music in it. It sounds like a soundtrack to a film, which really works for me. So it's kind of new for him, while still revisiting some of his older styles. But this is actually not the Pat Metheny group, but it's just Pat Metheny, which is rare. I tend to lean toward the Pat Metheny group stuff, but his output the last 20 years has been very different for me. I love the stuff that preceded it, but so that's number 7. Number 6, album of the year from 2023, Small League Sing Ships, Low Tide. Another sort of return album. They never broke up, but it took many years. The previous record had come out in 2017, so it was 6 years and change. Songs like their cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper, which was actually technically covered, but the songs like Wait, Floating is just uplifting, very rhythmic, very... What I love about Small League Sing Ships, the rhythms, the drums, the vocal arrangements, even though they're kind of, a little bit of an acquired taste, the vocal style, when they click with you, the songs can work so much better. It's not my favorite, because I have a soft spot in the last 5-star record, Face Yourself and Remove Your Sandals from 2015, but it's probably my second favorite at this point among their catalog. I love the previous record, Golden Calf, a lot, but My Piano, that I love the Valley O is also a cover, actually, as I found out. But Buying Time and My Piano are both really kind of melancholy. IAAOU, the opening track, which is vocal exercises and, in texture and sound. But number 6. Number 5, now we're in the top 5. The lone record, of course, one release per artist. Because I could have put their 2 other records probably in here. At least, yeah, I would have. Dirt Poor Robin's Dead Horse. I, again, like the Family Crest record from 2022, I also associate this, unfortunately, with the loss of a dog. And I know that little interval patterns, this is a compilation of the EPs they released in 2019 and maybe 2018. The Dead Horse Alaska EPs, but then they added a few new songs and the intervals. It just kind of... from the conceptual standpoint, I think I revere it more than the last 2 records slightly. Plus, Skyrider is one of the best songs I've ever written. It's just a banger. It's epic. There's many. The Saints 1, the Saints 2. They actually reference the Saints Go Marching In. Very futuristic, very kind of post-apocalyptic. It's very sci-fi-ish. Where they go in the past, they go in the future. They channel different eras in time, both fictional and almost non-fictional. But yeah, I think 10 or 20 years from now, I'll probably be revisiting this, and that's why it has to kind of still go this high among this list. I mean, it's not 5 stars, but it's damn close. So that's number 5. Number 4, maybe the most ambitious release of the whole decade. I have little to no memory of these memories from Towhider. 47-minute track, very kind of running the gamut of prog and classic rock and metal influences and progressive metal influences. Michael Mills is a fantastic vocalist. He writes a lot of great vocal lines, a lot of great keyboard parts, the guitar riffs, the energy, the dynamics, callbacks. We hear parts like Queen, like Jethro Tull, like ELO, like Dream Theater, like Between the Buried and Me. He's a great sponge of influences, and it all came together in this big epic conceptual track, which somehow, for the most part, flows. There's a couple parts. There's some doom metal in there that I think drags it down a little bit, but for the most part, there's so many moments that are the melodies, the parts that I look forward to. It's great. It's, put it up there with Fate's Warning, The Pleasant Shade of Grey, and Green Carnation's Light of Day, A Day of Darkness. For an ambitious extensive, long, one track, one song piece, or classical music. So that's number 4. Number 3. The debut release from Giant Sky. I adore this thing. The guitar textures. It is a little bit like Sufjan Stevens doing space rock, although Sufjan Stevens has done some sort of spacey rock, but there's a Pink Floyd element. It's very post-rock at points. I love the sort of just the flow of this record. Oh man, I had to buy it. The Further We Go Deeper parts 1 through 6. It's like Pink Floyd or Tangerine Dream in some ways, that they're most creative and most sort of like dreamy, trippy space rock. Love Giant Sky, the related project from the member from Erlin from the band Soup. So, number 2, I still don't have my physical copy, but it's Falling Up presents The Chilling Alpine Adventure, my album of the year for 2024. Jesse Robordi, Nick Lambert, the return of Falling Up after 9 years. And it's very conceptual, the conspiracy element in the mountains, the melodies that come back, the melancholy element. There's just so many things I'm loving about this record. I've only been listening to it for about, whatever it is, 3-4 weeks, but love this record. I can see myself getting a lot of mileage. I'm really excited. They're going to be now known as the Chilling Up Adventure. as a band, but so it's sort of a transitional album in some ways. So, and then number one, of course, fanboy bias included, and it's music that all was recorded, written mostly, and recorded all in the 80s, but it's the collection, the big collection from Kevin Gilbert's estate, Call Me Kai. 4 releases together: Decent Exposure 85, sometimes Y86, Point Blank 87, and Mixed Bag 84 to 87. Well, it's not perfect. There's so much music on this thing I love, and of course there are different versions of songs he would later re-record with Giraffe and with on his own. However, and shaming the true, it just has too much to not give it number one at this point. I don't know in 5 years if I'll include it to be my favorite album of the decade for release. It's 4 albums in one for my favorite musician of all time, so I know in some ways it's not music of the 2020s, although it's of the 2020s mixing and production, because John Cuniberti from Kevin Gilbert's estate deserves a whole lot of credit for really cleaning this up. I had heard a lot of this music through various sources, much more compressed, much lower fidelity production, but it also has, of course, the Tired Little Man Suite, which is my favorite track Kevin Gilbert ever did. This version of it, with the Triptychorion, the Still Air section back on the shelf. But I mean, what are the other highlights for me? Besides the songs Until I Get You Back, Image Maker, of course, on Sometimes Why. I love Goodbye by LA. That's a top 10 track for Kevin Gilbert. It's super catchy and power pop-ish. That's right up there with, the song off of Nuts and Bolts that my wife loves. Finally Over You. Nightmares, Shannon Elizabeth, the different version of Shannon. Nightmares is from a soundtrack that later, the Motels would do from that Night of the Creeps. Walking in Your Shoes. The Rain Suite off the Decent Exposure 85 is very proggy. It's like 8 minutes or whatever. Both If Ever and Broken Ties. There's just, Living in the USA is very catchy. He wrote that attention maybe for James Brown to put it with his, Living in America, and Born. It's like a James Brown Springsteen thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess, and Mixed Bag is the weakest of the 4 discs, but I still like, even though a lot of that's very kind of textured soundtrack recordings. I just, Staring Into Nothing, the early version of that. Donna Ray is another highlight. Another super catchy. And that's part of it. There's a lot of super catchy tracks on this, together with Kevin's sort of other versions of Kevin's songs and Kevin's early, but his vocals they don't sound so high like they do on NRG. That's the other thing. The NRG I often would struggle with because his vocals were so high pitched because he wasn't singing in his natural range. I think on a lot of this, oddly enough, his vocals are more of the Toy Matinee and Giraffe range. That's the reason why I got more into it. So anyway, my album of the decade so far, my number one album, Call Me Kai, from the Kevin Gilbert estate. So what are your top albums of the half decade? I'd love to find that out. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.